Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for 15 Minutes of Fame. My name is Robert Foisey. I'm the director of 15 Minutes of Fame. And 15 Minutes of Fame is 15 one-minute works that are written for a specific musician or ensemble by 15 different composers. For this unique 15 Minutes of Fame, we are featuring the performer David Bohn. David Bohn is a longtime collaborator and 15 Minutes of Fame performer. He's performed organ and toy piano. And today he's playing the Taishogoto, which is a unique Japanese instrument. We actually did a workshop sort of to give a chance for composers who are looking to explore the instrument, learn about it, and just find something new. Just give them an opportunity to write for it, and have David test out the ideas. So some of those pieces will be played today, and then we got many pieces from our call. David picked 15 of them, and we'll be performing them in a minute. With that said, we are going to do the following composer, Chris Tilley.
Hello, my name is Luigi Morleo. Sorry, but my English is very horrible. Um, I am glad to be in this project. For me, it's the first time to compose a new piece for Taishogoto. I am very interesting about this instrument. I compose for to David Bohn. I want to thank you, David, for to play my piece. This piece is a new piece that is part of a big project, No Border. It's big project for a different composition, for solo instrument, for ensemble instruments, for orchestra, a piece. I want to describe the possibility to break the border in the world. To break the border in the world for ethnic, for religion, for economic, for country, because I want to have a one world, one person, one people, one peace for our world in the future. I hope. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Alp Durmaz. I am from Turkey. My piece, An Eastern Miniature, combines the rhythmic features of Turkish music and the scales of Far Eastern music. I hope you'll enjoy the piece. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mike Coleman. You know, when you're walking somewhere or driving somewhere, you get to a certain point and you're not sure whether you should go forward or go backward. You just stop and you freeze and just be still. I should have gone backwards. That's the basis for the title of my work, Still, for the Taishogoto, to be performed by David Bohn. David, thank you for creating this call for scores for the 15 Minutes of Fame project. And Rob Boise, thank you and your Vox Nova staff for creating the opportunity with David to produce this video. I'm honored to be a part of it.
Super fabulous. Thank you, David. The next composer I want to bring on is Sylvia Simmons. Hi, Sylvia. How are you?
Hi, Robert. I'm very well, thank you. And I'm very glad to be here.
Oh, it's great to have you.
So, thank you.
Why don't you say your name and tell us a little bit about yourself and this piece that's coming up?
Okay. My name is Sylvia Simons. And for me, writing a 1 minute piece, I believe, is like writing a haiku. And especially in this context of the Taishogoto contemplation, theme of contemplation and meditation. So my piece leaves a lot of room to breathe, is minimal, and it uses the G drone of the instrument as a kind of om. And the title, The Moon Rained Notes, I think is a bit thin. I was actually looking for a haiku by Issa or Bashu for a title, but I couldn't find something. So The Moon Rained Notes just came to me, and I thought, well, that's perfect. So I hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much.
Excellent. The next composer I want to bring on is Alex Unseth. Hi, Alex. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Robert?
I'm doing well. Um, Thank you for joining us today. Why don't you tell us, tell us your name and a little bit about you and your work that's coming up.
Sure. So my name is Alex Unseth, and I'm a self-taught composer. So I'm always trying to find ways to do new competitions and learn more about composing. And I saw this competition. I had never heard of the instrument before, and so I thought it was the perfect opportunity to do something different. And when I first heard of it being a competition about meditation and contemplation, the first thing that came to mind was a solitary place. And so the name of my piece, Mountain Echo, explores what it would be like to be on a mountain by yourself with everything reverberating around you. And I tried to explore that with some silence and then repeated notes. And I hope you enjoy.
Awesome. Before we do our last three pieces that are coming up, I just want to remind everybody who's tuning in and listening to us live that we have a few of the composers that are joining us backstage, and we have David. If you have any questions or comments that you want to say, please feel free to type it into the chat. We would love to answer them for you. With that said, let me cue up the last three. welcome.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey, David, great job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great job,
Thank
David.
you.
Fantastic.
Wonderful.
So has anybody composed for the Taishogoto before?
I never have heard
Um,
of that instrument before, even the name.
So what do you think about the instrument in general?
um, Reminds me of Japan.
I mean, I guess.
I'll if you want, I didn't know anything about like Alp and some others. Sylvia, that was an interesting twist on the bow. I believe that was your piece, right? Or am I
Yeah,
mixing them up?
it was that
Yeah,
because
and
the workshop
we,
with, sorry.
yeah, and I almost didn't send anything because we were getting ready to leave for Kazakhstan in early May, and it was like 3 in the morning. We're getting ready to fly out in the morning. I said, well, "What the heck? I'll just do what I can with the." And I studied some of the tutorials. David, I think you and Annalise, I believe is her name, from the Netherlands. You guys were working on an idea, and I looked up some other things, probably like the rest of you. And I just came up with an idea of if you reach a moment where you don't know really what to do, you sort of like freeze and go still, and try to apply the idea to the instrument. And it was in some weird hour in the morning anyway. Um, but but it's an interesting instrument to work with. You know.
I think the thing that I enjoyed about it most is the fact that it's actually not really a very old instrument, right? I mean, David, well, you were telling me once that it's only like what 50 to 75 years old.
it's a little more than that. It's 100 and something. The something being it's not 110 years old. It's 100, 105 somewhere there. So it's unlike a lot of Japanese instruments where there is this whole tradition behind it. This was an instrument that is essentially a baby, and I figured uh, uh, if it is that young, it doesn't have the cultural tradition behind it, unlike the shakuhachi or the hichiriki or a whole bunch of other Japanese instruments, which I happen to really like, but at the same time, I'm a little intimidated by the whole tradition that they come from. And we don't need to talk about sitar and classical Indian instruments. That tradition just kind of scares me. I know enough about it to know that I don't know enough about it to even attempt to do anything in that tradition. So,
Yeah, I find that that's kind
yeah.
of the interesting thing about, especially about Japanese instruments, that there's there is a huge tradition and style of playing that, especially for Western composers, well, probably Eastern composers too, right? Because it's very unique to Japan. It's
Mm-hmm.
a lot like organ music would be, right? I mean, organ music from the Gregorian chants and all that sort of thing was very traditional and had lots of rules and a lot of function to it, right?
Yeah. Well, I think in the case of Japanese and, as I mentioned, Indian music, there's particularly Indian music. There's this whole mountain of tradition and theory and so forth behind it, and it's very intimidating. Uh, and again, with Japanese music, uh, I became fascinated with Hichiriki a long time ago, and uh, was kind of interested in it, and then I started reading, and then I noticed a comment where historically you had to learn all of the repertoire under your fingers before you were even allowed to touch the instrument, and that's something that I don't want to mess with something and commit a cultural faux pas with it.
Right.
But the Taishogoto seemed quite safe that way.
And so with the Taishogoto, we did that workshop. How many of the people selected on the 15 minutes were a part of that workshop?
A number of them, but most of them were different pieces. I know that Andrea Morosata, that was actually a second piece that he wrote, compared with the piece he wrote for the workshop was like 3 minutes long. So obviously not really a part of the 15 minutes of fame, possibly. I'm trying to remember who else. Truth be told, I think a lot of pieces, but those ended up on the 1 minute more, which will be coming out late December or early January.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I should mention that both David and I have been promoting. Anyway, we are big advocates of composers getting their pieces heard and played and so forth, and unfortunately, whenever you have a project like 60 by 60 or 15 minutes of fame, there's a limit to how many pieces you can play. So the idea of 1 minute more was to increase the fun. I guess that's the best way to put it, right, David?
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, also, the number of the pieces, since I'm a relative newcomer to the Taishogoto as an instrument, a number of the pieces just, I wasn't sure that I was going to do them justice live, whereas doing a proper recording session where I could splice things together if I goofed something up, seemed a better choice for a number of those pieces. Erring on the side of caution as a relative newbie to the instrument. So.
And so for the composers, 15 minutes of fame has, we've done a lot of different instruments. Do you feel like this format works really well for like a new instrument that you haven't seen before?
Yeah, I think it was just perfect, to try my hand at this instrument. And of course, the workshop, I think, was great that you held in November, I think it was, and introducing us to this new instrument. And of course, coming back to using the bow, I'm a fan of so-called extended techniques for any instruments. So I was really wondering what kind of extended techniques one could apply to the Taishogoto as well. And actually, I'm pleased the way it sounds, using that technique, bowing the strings and then going behind the bridge like that.
Very effective.
So I was wondering, David, whether you've come across so-called extended technique, if you like, in traditional music for this instrument, or, well, as far as one can speak of tradition, I guess, seeing it's a relatively new instrument.
As far as extended techniques, the only instructional material I have on the instrument is a little 16-page booklet that contains a bunch of songs in number notation, and that's the sum and total of it. Now, I do know that there are some people who play Taishogoto with oops, I just lost the visual here. I don't know if you can hear me or not,
We can
but
still hear you.
okay. Just a minute here. My getting used to a new computer, and it just yeah, I'm back. The and my train of thought is just completely derailed. Uh, but yeah, I've seen references to various extended techniques. How successful some of them are, I don't know, but there are actually specific Taishogoto models now that are designed for using a bow. So I figure why not?
And does anybody else
Just trying
have
to
any?
scroll back through the comments and see what others have said.
Yeah, and I should mention that if anybody has a question for David or any of the composers, feel free to type it. We'd love to answer it. But does any of the composers have any other comments or questions for David or me? Where is everybody from? Mike,
I'm from Turkey.
where are you from, Mike?
I'm from Pensacola, Florida.
And Sylvia?
Well, I'm currently in Italy. I think I'm a bit of a globetrotter, really, or I like to think that the whole world is my home. But I studied in Australia. I grew up in Switzerland, and I studied in Australia, and so I've spent many years in Australia, but always traveling back and forth. So, but at the moment, I don't think I've got a fixed place as such, which may sound a bit strange, but that's how it is.
Oh, it's good to be a cosmopolitan sort of world traveler. And how about you, Alex? Where are you from?
So I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, but I currently go to college in Kansas City, Missouri. So still very central to Missouri.
Gotcha. I am here based in New York City, and also like to think of myself as, the world is my home. I'm not so sure. I've done a little traveling lately. Let's see if we can get David back. Hey, David. And where are you broadcasting from, David?
Am I back on again? Okay, good. I'm broadcasting from Brookfield, Wisconsin, which is just outside of the Milwaukee area.
And some of the other people that have been joining us. Well, your brother Jim, he's in Massachusetts, and Paul is from the U.S., but he's currently in Estonia. He's joining us via chat. Yeah, it's great. It's probably one of the things I really love about the 15 Minutes of Fame program being online is just being able to connect with so many people from so many different parts of the world. We're talking about the world being our home. When I was producing stuff for chamber concerts in New York City, it was great doing this program, but not everybody could come to the concerts. So this at least gives a little opportunity for everybody to be able to hear their piece. So David,
sorry.
Oh no, go ahead, Sylvia.
Yeah, I have a question for you if you want to answer it. What is your next big vision for Vox Novus? Maybe not necessarily for 15 Minutes of Fame, but for all the various projects that you do. I mean, it's amazing, I think.
Oh, wow. Yeah, what's next? So, for everybody's known, I've taken a little bit of a break from things. Basically just being a dad and raising my son a bit. And now, since the pandemic, a lot of the musicians were having problems performing, so I started doing this online thing. So what's currently going on? I just did a big call for 60 by 60. I'll be bringing that back. We just did 60 by 60 dance out in Slippery Rock. So we're going to be, I'm going to continue doing 60 by 60 calls. Those are 1 minute electronic works. That's the project that kind of inspired 15 Minutes of Fame. So 15 Minutes of Fame is growing. We have, I think, there's a call due today if anybody wants to, when to get off, right, for saxophone quartet. That's our current call. And I think we have 3 more with deadlines in a month and so forth that are ready to go. Double bass. So, and we have 3 or 4 more calls for 15 Minutes of Fame. So figure like in the next, sorry, I'm going on. There's a lot of stuff going, Sylvia. So we'll have 7 calls in the next month for 15 Minutes of Fame. So that's going to be growing. So one of my goals is to have like a call for 15 Minutes of Fame every month that we'll be doing. And then for everybody who doesn't know, like right before this show was, I have a TV show. If you, there's cable access here in Manhattan, and I do a TV show every 2 weeks. So that broadcasts on Saturdays at 2:00. And if you're not in New York City to see it on cable here, I simulcast it on my YouTube channel. I encourage everybody to subscribe to that. The more people that subscribe, the more, the better everything will do. And that composer's voice, it's composer's voice in 28 minutes, and I feature composers and musicians. So I'm hopefully I'll be next year doing that once a week. So those are my plans for Vox Novus. It's enough, right?
Sounds fantastic, really. Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. And what does everybody else have
Rob,
planned?
I'll
Go ahead, Mike.
Just gonna, I think everybody probably. I appreciate the efforts you and Vox Novus, put into these opportunities. I know I'm not saying it idly because it gives you some purpose. And I think I talked to you about the Birmingham Alliance that I belong. I don't think those have been very productive. So you're opening gates for people, and it's really just absolutely great.
Oh, thanks a lot, Mike. I really appreciate it. Anyway, we just it's great to have everybody's music played and so forth. I mean, I think it's important for all of us to get heard and to be heard and to listen to other people's stuff. So, the more I can do it, the better I feel we all are. I think we'll let's close up. I don't know, David. We keep losing David. Let's see if we can get him back in a second. But I just want to thank everybody for being a part of this, and I want to encourage you to write more. And everybody who's seeing this, and everybody who's out there, if you can, like I said, I'm doing this this composer's voice, this 28-minute show. If you have some video for music and so forth, I would love to feature you there as well. So just write me a few emails. Let's see if we can get David back one last time. David, I think it's time to say adieu. Do we got you? Are you there?
Me?
Hi.
Hi, yeah. StreamYard is kicking me off with some regularity. I'm not sure why.
I don't think it likes your computer.
So, it could very well be.
David, I want to thank you for both introducing us all to this great instrument and for performing the pieces.
Thank you. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, David.
I think you did a fantastic job, David, of all these pieces. It was really wonderful to listen to you.
Thank you.
Great performance.
Thank you.
It's a great afternoon.
Awesome. Great, everyone. And, I look forward to seeing you on the next 15 minutes of fame.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Robert
you.
and David.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Thanks, Rob.